The opening of a story is vital to understanding the rest of the story. We've looked at Genesis 1 and 2 and how they have introduced us to the world and the key players of the Bible. Today, we're diving into Genesis 3, where the drama takes a dramatic turn as we're introduced to the antagonist and we see the obstacle to God's intent and we see what God's plan of action is moving forward. I'm Kyle, and this is Cinematic Scripture, exploring the Bible through film. Let's roll film. Hey friends, welcome to Cinematic Scripture, exploring the Bible through film. Using storytelling techniques, we explore the connection between faith and film to deepen our understanding of the Bible and to engage cultural stories through a biblical lens. Now, the best way to understand the Bible is to see it as one unified story. This approach is going to allow us to uncover the themes, the imagery, the symbolism, and the storytelling techniques that are woven throughout the entire Bible's narrative. Now, Genesis 1 and 2 have introduced us to the world of the story. First, it introduced us to the main character, God, and the supporting characters of humanity. And like all good stories, the biblical narrative has a central intent and an obstacle that challenges it. Genesis 1 and 2 reveal God's intent to partner with humanity in governing and caring for his creation. Genesis 3 reveals the obstacle that disrupts God's intent, also known as the disruption. There are 5 steps to understanding a story structure. The first 3 steps are the world, the disruption, and the action. Genesis 2 have established the world. Genesis 3 is going to bring the disruption into play and reveal the action that God is going to set in motion. Now remember that back in Genesis 2, God gave humanity a choice to trust him and to flourish, or to eat from a tree, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and die. The choice humanity faces sets the stage for a timeless conflict: obedience or rebellion, trust or self-reliance. Their decision shapes the course of human history and defines the interplay between divine authority and human free will. The stage is about to unfold. Let's look at an overview of Genesis chapter 3. So after creating the world and placing humanity in the garden, God offers a choice: trust him or go their own way. And Genesis 3 introduces us to a serpent, an enemy that attempts to trick the man and the woman. Now, scholars differ on the serpent's identity. Some scholars view it as a symbol of evil or temptation, others as a literal snake used by Satan, and still there are some scholars that view it to be Satan himself. Now, whichever interpretation you side with, it's important to remember that the snake, the serpent, is described as crafty. The Hebrew term for crafty, it means cunning, devious, or sly. So that's the important thing to remember, is how this serpent operates. So the story continues in Genesis 3. One day while in the garden, the woman is approached by a serpent. Twisting God's words, the serpent cunningly asks the woman questions. Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? The woman responds to the serpent, "We may eat from the trees in the garden, but God says you must not eat from the tree in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die." "You will not die," the serpent says to her, "for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good from evil." Convinced by the serpent's argument, the woman looks at the tree. She sees that it's beautiful. She sees that its fruit looks delicious, and she desires the wisdom that the tree and the fruit would give her. So the woman reaches out, she plucks the fruit, she eats it, and then she shares it with the man, who eats it as well. Immediately, everything changes. Fear, shame, and guilt fill their hearts and their minds, and they duck behind bushes to hide from each other, because they both realize for the first time that they are naked. They sew fig leaves together to cover themselves. And then they hear God walking in the garden, and they hide from him. I can just see the conversation. God's walking in the garden. He says, Adam, where are you?" Adam slowly steps out of hiding. I heard you walking in the garden and I hid. I was afraid because I was naked. Adam, who told you? Who told you you were naked? Adam, did you eat from the tree I commanded you not to eat from? Adam, maybe beginning to sweat, getting a little nervous. It it was the woman that you gave me. Eve, the woman, steps out from hiding. She ate some of the fruit and gave it to me, so I ate it. And God looks at the woman. What have you done? It was the serpent. It deceived me, so I ate the fruit, the woman says. And everything begins to unravel in Genesis 3. Shame replaces innocence as they hide from God. Blame replaces truth as Adam blames Eve and Eve blames the serpent. And God responds by pronouncing the consequences of their choices. But God also promises that one day someone will come that will crush the serpent. Now, after pronouncing judgment, God then provides a better covering for them than the one that they made with the leaves. And then he banishes humanity from the garden and sets cherubim, angels, to protect it. The man and the woman's act of disobedience marks the beginning of humanity's fall and sets the stage for God's ultimate plan of redemption. That's just an overview of the story. Let's look at the plot. So the plot of Genesis 3 presents the disruption to God's intended order, which is sin. The disruption is sin. Every story has an intent and a disruption. God's intent to partner with humanity, sin is the disruption. Because sin disrupts God's intention to partner with humanity, because sin separates humanity from God. Sin separates us from God. Though Adam and Eve's act of disobedience ushers in this far-reaching consequence of distrust and sin, God is not going to sit back. He takes action. Action to one day restore humanity and creation back to himself. So Genesis 3 really sets the stage for what's going to come and the rest of Scripture. So let's look at some imagery that happens here in the garden in Genesis chapter 3. The imagery in Genesis chapter 3 starkly contrasts the harmony and imagery of Genesis chapter 2. See, in Genesis chapter 2, if you remember, man and woman are naked and they're unashamed, and they live in perfect harmony and unity with God and each other. Now in Genesis 3, the scene is changed. Their eyes are opened and they feel shame at their nakedness. They sew fig leaves together as coverings and hide among the trees when they hear God walking in the garden. Though they are still in paradise, the emotional tone has shifted. Shame, fear, and separation have entered where innocence and trust once thrived. The imagery of sewing coverings and hiding visually demonstrates the brokenness in their relationships with each other and with God and with their surroundings. The imagery brings the reader into this transformed world, one that is now fractured and uncertain. So that's some imagery. The tone is completely shifted from Genesis 2 and now into Genesis 3. It's shifted and the imagery reveals that. Let's look at some symbolism. So the symbolism. Building on this visual transformation in Genesis chapter 3, the symbolism then deepens our understanding of the relational and spiritual consequences of sin. Let me show you what I'm talking about. In Genesis 2, it says that they were naked and unashamed, the man and the woman, and it symbolized innocence, trust, and an untainted connection with the divine and with each other. Nakedness represents vulnerability and transparency, a state of complete openness before God and one another. After eating the fruit, it says that their eyes are opened, and so they have this new self-awareness, and they sew fig leaves to cover themselves. And it symbolizes humanity's first attempt to cope with the shame and vulnerability that comes with sin. That shame that they feel and their actions also symbolize the loss of trust. Adam no longer fully trusts Eve, and Eve no longer fully trusts Adam, and neither of them fully trust God. They now are in this state where they each define good and evil based on their personal judgment rather than relying on God's definition and God's judgment. Sin has fractured their unity. This shift of they were naked, which means they were innocent, and now they're covering themselves. It's this fracture. It shows this fracture of their unity. It symbolizes that. Nakedness, which was once a symbol of intimacy and safety, becomes a reminder of their exposure and their separation. By covering themselves and hiding from God, they reveal their discomfort with being seen fully, both physically and spiritually. The trust that once allowed them to live unashamed has been replaced by fear and mistrust. And this highlights the profound shift in their relationship with the very fabric of creation. Everything has shifted. And the fact that they're covering themselves shows that. So that's some of the symbolism in Genesis chapter 3. Let's look at some foreshadowing that happens. Hey friends, I just want to give you a quick update. We have a very special event coming up soon on Saturday, April 19th at 4 p.m. We are going to be doing a live webinar, Hollywood on Biblical Themes. Will the real Jesus please stand up? Join myself and a good friend of mine, Pastor Troy. I've known him for over 20 years. We're going to sit down with 8 different films that Hollywood has made depicting the life of Christ, and we're going to see if these Hollywood films can point us to the biblical Jesus. So go to cinematicscripture.com/webinar. That's www.cinematicscripture.com/webinar. Put in your name, email address, and register, and then you will get the link to our first ever live webinar, Hollywood on Biblical Themes. Will the real Jesus please stand up? Join us Saturday, April 19th at 4 p.m. The link will be in the description below. Hope you can join us, and we'll see you soon. So some foreshadowing in Genesis chapter 3. After the man and woman blame one another and blame the serpent, God pronounces judgment on all involved, the man, the woman, and the serpent. Now, in the middle of pronouncing these judgments, in Genesis 3:14, God begins addressing the serpent. And in Genesis 3:15, God declares, "And I will cause hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel." This verse serves as a profound example of foreshadowing in the Bible. Genesis 3:15 introduces the concept of a promised offspring who will ultimately defeat the serpent, the enemy, and set the stage for the grand narrative of Scripture. That's what Genesis 3:15 does. It sets the narrative by saying one is going to come. See, throughout the Bible, God invites people, individuals, he invites families, and he invites nations to partner with him in his restorative plan. Yet time and time and time again, they fall short. And despite their shortcomings, despite their failures, prophets will come along and will continually point to the promise of the promised one, a figure who will overcome the enemy and repair what has been broken. This anticipation that Genesis 3 represents, this anticipation mirrors a universal storytelling trope. But we see it all over the place. The chosen one, or the Messiah figure. Look, from Star Wars to The Matrix to Dune, Harry Potter, these narratives echo the biblical promise of someone who is destined to bring restoration, transformation, and resolution. Hollywood has a fascination with these Christ-like figures, and it underscores the timeless appeal of Genesis 3:15. This hope-filled promise that showcases humanity's deep-seated longing for redemption and victory over evil. It's all over in films, and it starts right here in Genesis 3:15, where it promises that someone will come and restore and defeat and bring healing and transformation. So that's some foreshadowing in Genesis 3. Let's look at character. All right, so let's look at character in Genesis chapter 3. So Genesis 3 not only marks humanity's fall, but it also reveals profound aspects of God's character, specifically his mercy, his justice, and his unwavering commitment to restoration. See, despite Adam and Eve's rebellion, which results in spiritual death and separation from God as the source of life, God does not abandon his creation. Instead, God actively seeks them out in the garden. He goes into the garden and he asks, "Where are you?" Genesis 3:9. The question is not one of ignorance, but one of invitation. God knows where they are, but he's offering them a chance to come and reconcile, to move forward. It's this question of invitation. So even in their shame and hiding, God still pursues a relationship, demonstrating his desire to restore the broken connection. Now, after pronouncing judgment on Adam and Eve and the serpent, God also establishes a promise, a commitment to redemption. In Genesis 3:15, which we just looked at, God declares, "And I will cause hostility between you and the woman, between her offspring and your offspring, and he will strike your head, and you will strike his heel." This verse again introduces the concept of the promised offspring, foreshadowing the day when someone will come to defeat the serpent. And while the serpent will inflict pain on him, the offspring will deliver a decisive victory, crushing the serpent's head. This promise reveals God's character by showing God's determination to redeem humanity even in the face of their choices. Even as they live out the consequences of their choices, God is going to redeem them. God's character shines even further in Genesis chapter 3, in his mercy and in his provision. Adam and Eve attempt to cover their shame and nakedness with fig leaves. It's this fragile and it's inadequate in both symbolism and practicality. It's just not going to work. And God responds by providing a better covering. God uses garments of animal skins, Genesis 3:21. And this act demonstrates God's care and God's commitment. As humanity's efforts to fix the consequences of sin will always fall short, but God himself offers a way forward. So it shows God's care and commitment. They try and cover themselves. God provides a better way. He provides a better covering. Now, this covering also foreshadows the ultimate restoration that God will bring through the promised offspring. And even on top of that, the covering that God provides foreshadows future symbolisms of sacrifice and blood throughout Scripture that we will see. See, through these actions, we see the duality of God's character. We see his justice in holding humanity accountable for sin, and his mercy in extending grace and initiating a path toward redemption. God is a God who pursues, who promises, and who provides, ensuring that humanity's story does not end in separation and sin, but continues towards restoration. All right, so Genesis 3 introduces us to the disruption, the obstacle to God's intent. But it also reveals and sets in motion God's redemptive plan to restore the world. From here on out, we are going to see how sin fractures relationships. We're going to see the continual downfall of humanity, and we're going to see people partnering with God and failing time and time again. And yet, even though that happens, we will also see God's continual commitment to his creation. See, Genesis 1 and 2 give us insight into what living and working with God in paradise, heaven on earth, can look like. Genesis 3 shows us how humanity rejects God. And the rest of the Bible will show how God, as the protagonist of the story, will embark on a quest to set things right and restore creation to what his original intent in the garden was. Let me know in the comments below which of the story techniques resonated most with you. Was it the imagery, the symbolism, the foreshadowing, or God's character? If you enjoyed this episode of Cinematic Scripture, please like, follow, or leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your support helps others find the show. Thanks again for exploring the intersection of faith and film with me. Until next time, I'm Kyle, and this is Cinematic Scripture, exploring the Bible through film.